What if I told you the person who hurt you most remembers every single detail? Every cruel word, every broken promise, every moment of your silent suffering is etched into their memory, even if they act like it never happened. While you replay those scenes over and over in your mind, searching for answers or closure, they move on, seemingly untouched, able to sleep peacefully at night. Carl Jung famously said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But there's a part of this truth that often goes unspoken, the part that reveals why some people refuse to acknowledge their own wrongdoing, why they deny the harm they've caused even when confronted with the undeniable pain left behind. The reality is colder than we imagine. They remember. They remember every detail, every word they said, every promise they shattered, every moment they watched you crumble under the weight of their betrayal. But here's the catch. Remembering does not mean reckoning. Jung's revolutionary concept of the shadow self explains this paradox. Within every one of us there is a hidden side, parts of our psyche that we reject, deny, or refuse to face. This shadow contains uncomfortable truths, our anger, selfishness, envy, and cruelty. These aspects lurk beneath our conscious identity, and for most, admitting their existence is terrifying. What Jung uncovered after decades of clinical observation is that the more we suppress or reject our shadows, the more control those hidden parts have over us. But there's something even more disturbing. Those who hurt you aren't suffering from forgetfulness. They are often actively avoiding their shadows by projecting their own darkness onto you. This unconscious act is called shadow projection. Projection means they push their unwanted feelings and faults onto someone else. You become the carrier of their guilt, their shame, their cruelty. They refuse to look inward, so they force you to carry the burden. It's a psychological defense mechanism wrapped in denial, deflection, and silence. Now imagine how painful this is for you. You relive every betrayal, every harsh word, every moment you felt small and broken while they act as if none of it happened. Why? Because facing the truth would mean dismantling their entire identity. A terrifying process Jung called the confrontation with the shadow. The meeting of two personalities, Jung said, is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But what happens when one person refuses to react, refuses to transform, clings instead to their persona, the mask they wear to hide their true selves? They choose comfort over consciousness, denial over development. They choose to forget because remembering would require accountability. A profound change many are not psychologically ready to endure. Accountability is not a mere apology. It demands authentic transformation, the willingness to sit with one's own darkness and make peace with it. Jung wrote in his personal letters that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. For many who hurt you, this terror is so overwhelming that they build elaborate psychological walls to avoid it at all costs. Instead of embracing their guilt, they become addicted to comfort, ego protection, and denial, often disguised as, "I don't remember it that way," or "You're being too sensitive." These phrases serve to maintain their fragile self-image and to silence your pain. When someone hurts you and then denies it or pretends it never happened, they aren't merely lying to you. They are sustaining what Jung called the provisional life, a psychological state where they avoid true self-awareness by living perpetually justified, perpetually innocent, and perpetually comfortable. But this is not just a personal defense. It is a weapon that destabilizes you. The silence they impose forces you into a whirlwind of confusion, replaying conversations, questioning your feelings, doubting your memories. You search desperately for signs of remorse that don't exist, while they grow stronger with every moment you weaken. Jung's extensive research on psychological manipulation reveals that this is a form of gaslighting, making you question your own perception of reality to protect their self-image. It's not just cruelty, it's unconscious competence in emotional manipulation. And yet, despite all this pain, there is a liberating truth. You cannot force someone to face their shadow or become conscious of their darkness if they are not willing. The work of integration, growth, and healing is voluntary. Jung taught that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So while they remain asleep in their denial, projecting their shadows onto you, you have a choice: to keep carrying the burden or to begin the work of awakening within yourself. Your healing starts the moment you stop waiting for their apology, their change, or their acknowledgement. Your peace doesn't depend on their consciousness. Your worth is not determined by their inability to face the truth. This is the first step toward freedom. Understanding that the person who hurt you and acts like nothing happened knows exactly what they're doing. They remember every detail, but they are not ready, and perhaps never will be, to face the consequences. The power lies in your hands now, to stop explaining your pain to those who profit from your silence, to stop exhausting yourself trying to drag someone into emotional maturity. Jung's words echo in this truth. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. You are awake. And that awakening is your greatest strength. To truly understand why some people who hurt us act like it never happened, we must dive deeper into the complex machinery of the human psyche. Carl Jung introduced us to crucial concepts that unlock these mysteries: the persona, shadow projection, and the powerful ways the mind protects itself from uncomfortable truths. First, consider the persona, the social mask we all wear. It's the version of ourselves we present to the world, shaped by cultural expectations, personal desires, and our need for acceptance. But the persona does more than just help us navigate society. It shields the ego from facing its own darkness. It's a fortress of carefully constructed lies and half-truths, designed to keep us safe from the terrifying reality of who we truly are beneath the surface. When someone harms you and then pretends it never occurred, they are not simply lying to avoid guilt, they are defending this persona. To admit wrongdoing would be to crack the facade, exposing their shadow, those hidden, rejected parts of themselves they fear the most. Jung called the psychological state they maintain the provisional life. It is a suspended existence, where change is feared and avoidance becomes a way of life. They remain perpetually innocent in their own eyes, justified in their actions, and resistant to any challenge that threatens their fragile self-image. But denial is not merely passive. It is an active, sometimes calculated strategy that creates chaos in your mind. The silence they impose is not empty. It is a weapon, one that shifts the burden of confusion onto you, the one already suffering. When they say nothing, you find yourself scrambling to fill the void, replaying conversations, overanalyzing every gesture, questioning your reactions. This cycle breeds dependence. You begin to chase any sign of remorse or acknowledgement, no matter how small, weakening your boundaries and clouding your truth. The very person who should be accountable gains control by withholding it. Jung's observations about these dynamics reveal an uncomfortable truth. The process is often unconscious. These individuals develop what he called unconscious competence in emotional manipulation. They have intuitively mastered how to protect themselves while destabilizing others without consciously intending harm. This brings us to a dark form of psychological projection, what modern psychology recognizes as gaslighting. When someone who hurt you refuses to own their actions and instead makes you doubt your memory or feelings, they are not just avoiding responsibility, they are undermining your reality. You may catch yourself thinking, maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe it wasn't that bad. These doubts are the precise tools of manipulation that keep you trapped in a psychological labyrinth, while they remain free from guilt. Yet, Jung taught that this resistance only strengthens the shadows we refuse to face. What you resist persists, he said. The more they deny, the more powerful their unconscious shadows become, and the more you suffer as the carrier of their unresolved pain. But it's essential to understand the paradox. These people are not weak or broken in the way you might think. Their silence and denial are defenses built through years of psychological conditioning, a fortress of emotional rigidity that keeps vulnerability at bay. Jung described this rigidity as psychological inflation, an enlargement of the ego so vast that it cannot tolerate any information contradicting its self-image. This leads to a refusal to accept fault, a rejection of accountability, and a retreat into denial. When confronted, these individuals don't respond with remorse or understanding. Instead, they deflect, blame, and vanish, going silent or changing the subject to protect their fragile ego. They surround themselves with echo chambers, friends who validate their version of events, social media posts that paint a false picture of happiness, and distractions that keep them from looking inward. This is not confusion or overwhelm. It's a pattern, a strategy to avoid the discomfort of growth. The deeper truth is that accountability demands something terrifying: authentic change. Jung's clinical work revealed that real emotional integration requires courage. The courage to face the darkness within, accept flaws, and make amends. But many prefer to remain in the comfort of their illusions, continuing to project their shadows onto others and avoiding their own pain. For you, this means the battles you fight with them are often wars you never started. Their defenses are not just psychological reactions, they are lifestyle choices that maintain their identity. Understanding this can be freeing. It explains why some people can destroy your peace and walk away as if nothing happened, because to them, it never did. Recognizing the role of the persona and shadow projection allows you to see beyond the surface of their behavior. It shines a light on the deep-rooted fears and psychological needs that drive their denial. Most importantly, it reveals a painful but vital truth. The struggle for accountability is not just about them. It's about you reclaiming your reality and your peace. You don't have to carry their shadows or validate their false innocence. You deserve to stand firmly in your truth, free from the manipulation of silence and denial. This awareness is the first step toward healing, a step that invites you to stop chasing ghosts and start focusing on your own growth and freedom. The painful reality many come to face is this: not everyone is capable of genuine accountability or emotional growth. Carl Jung's work sheds light on why some people simply cannot, or will not, apologize, and why this refusal is often rooted in deep psychological structures. Jung introduced the concept of psychological inflation, a state where the ego expands beyond healthy limits, becoming so grandiose that it cannot tolerate any threat to its self-image. In this inflated state, admitting fault is not just difficult, it feels like annihilation. To confess wrongdoing is to shatter the fragile self they have painstakingly built. When you ask someone who is psychologically inflated to take responsibility, you are not merely requesting an apology. You are asking them to dismantle their entire identity. This is why they often respond with silence, denial, or distraction. It's not avoidance born of weakness, it's a defense born of survival. You might notice patterns. When confronted, they vanish emotionally, withdraw into silence, change the subject, or bombard social media with false images of happiness and success. These are not signs of confusion or avoidance. They are tactical moves to maintain control over their narrative and shield their ego from collapse. Jung also observed dissociative competence, the ability of some individuals to separate their harmful actions from their identity so completely that they genuinely believe they are not responsible for the pain they cause. This psychological dissociation allows them to rewrite history in their minds, casting themselves as the victim or hero in stories where they were actually the villain. This complex psychological machinery explains why your pleas for accountability often feel like fighting a ghost, because the person on the other side has mastered the art of emotional evasion. They've built such high walls around their psyche that your words bounce off without penetrating. The question then arises, why does this happen? Why do some people refuse to engage in the difficult, painful process of shadow integration? Jung taught that true emotional maturity requires the courage to face one's own capacity for harm. Guilt, when processed healthfully, serves as a guide, a moral compass pointing toward repair, balance, and justice, but many lack this capacity. For them, guilt is a threat to existence, a poison that risks total self-collapse. because they cannot separate their behavior from their core identity. Admitting fault means declaring themselves inherently flawed, a truth too devastating to bear. So instead of facing their shadow, they project it outward, blaming others and avoiding responsibility. This projection is not random. It's a systematic defense mechanism designed to protect their ego at all costs. When you confront them gently about their behavior, you often find yourself in a battle you never started. Your vulnerability becomes a weapon they exploit. Your truth becomes their enemy to defeat. Jung described these psychological defenses as rigidity, an inability to adapt or change in response to new threatening information. This rigidity locks them into the provisional life, a place of perpetual justification and innocence where growth is impossible. From your perspective, it's heartbreaking to realize that the apology you crave is less about you and more about their limits. It's a reflection of their emotional ceiling, the point beyond which they cannot or will not grow. And yet, Jung's work offers hope. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This means that while some may never confront their shadows, you have the power to do so for yourself. Your journey is not to fix or change them, but to become whole despite their refusal. This means recognizing the patterns, understanding their origins, and choosing not to carry the emotional labor alone. It means embracing your own shadow, your pain, your anger, your need for closure, and integrating it into your being. Only then can you step into true freedom. You don't need their apology to validate your experience or your worth. Your healing is your own, and it begins the moment you stop waiting for someone who is unwilling to change. After all you've endured, the replaying of every painful moment, the silence that deafens, the endless search for accountability that never comes, there is a truth more liberating than any apology could ever be. Carl Jung spent his life teaching that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But this journey inward is voluntary. No one can be forced to awaken to their own darkness, nor can they be compelled to grow if they refuse. Here is the profound reality. You cannot make unconscious people conscious. You cannot drag someone kicking and screaming into emotional maturity. You cannot force an apology where there is no readiness to give one. And the greatest act of self-love is accepting this. Accepting that some people will never give you what you need, not because you don't deserve it, but because they lack the psychological capacity to provide it. This is not a failure on your part. It is a reflection of their current stage of psychological development. Trying to extract accountability from those who are emotionally unavailable is like trying to draw water from an empty well. The well isn't broken, it's just dry. And no amount of persistence, patience, or love will make water appear where none exists. Jung's work on the shadow showed that healing begins with looking inward. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. You have been awake. While they continue to live in the dream of denial and projection, you have done the work of awareness, truth, and growth. Your peace does not depend on their awakening. Your closure does not require their acknowledgement. Your worth is not defined by their inability to face their own shadows. This realization is the key to your liberation. It is the moment when you stop explaining your pain to those who profit from your silence. It is the moment when you stop carrying the emotional labor alone. It is the moment when you open space in your life for people who can meet you at your level, people who can sit with discomfort, face their shadows, and grow alongside you. The apology you never got was never about you. It was about their limits, their fear, and their refusal to grow. But your healing, your growth, and your freedom, those are all about you. You are the one who chooses to look inside, to awaken, to become whole. You are the one who can reclaim your peace, your power, your life. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Now is your time. Stop waiting for those who refuse to evolve. Invest your energy where it is received. Protect your peace fiercely. And remember, true freedom comes not from changing others, but from embracing yourself, your light and your shadow. alike. Thank you for journeying with me through this exploration. If this message resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Your awakening is your strength. Let it shine.